world champion still.
Yep,
Like,
he is.
It's been a long season. It's been like a year and a half, a little bit more almost at this point. But he is still the reigning world champion from the previous world championship for StarCraft, which was at last year's Katowice. So it is weird to say that the reigning world champion is not necessarily the favorite. But I will say, despite the fact that I think there was like definitely a drop off from world champion defeating Maru and everything to where Oliveira sat maybe a few months later, Oliveira has been on that steady climb back up, and I think his performance at Dallas really showcased, especially a series versus Cyril, how unbelievably good Oliveira is these days.
Yes, and it was quite telling too, because he was very honest before, well before, about his practice games versus Cyril. He was like, yeah, man, I don't win practice games versus Cyril. Like, if I deplete his bank, I count that as a win. You know, like that's me doing well in our practice games. And now he's up to actually taking practice games consistently against Cyril, which is huge. Like, that is, I know that's wild to like talk about, but we had a ladder situation where Cyril lost 4 ladder games in this entire season. And it was like, who are the 4 players that beat him? And it was like, Battleby was the only Terran to do it. We're going to see Oliveira skipping skipping his second Reaper. He went Marine. GuMiho going straight for that second Reaper, able to get the snipe on the SCV. That is quite a nuisance for Oliveira to deal with.
It is certainly going to be quite annoying, but Reaper will make its way all the way back to the other side of the map. Is going to encounter a Cyclone and immediately get picked off before he can kill off that SCV with the command center and do his own little delays there himself. We've definitely seen in literally today's games, we've seen how losing some of those early units and stuff can actually start to snowball things and cause all sorts of headaches. So I don't think it's going to happen here, given that we have now the Cyclones and stuff out, but it is certainly something we're going to have to keep an eye out for in this series.
It definitely will be. Now, something that's already pretty notable. Oh, okay, he does get a kill on this one, Reaper. Very important, because that is a quick second barracks off of Oliveira. Oliveira wants to do something off 2 bases. Maybe not a crazy commitment, but at the very least, he's going to be getting a quicker stim than normal. Triple Cyclone is a little bit unconventional out of GuMiho, but it will help him deal with this medevac very effectively. And GuMiho, very fast third command center for his part. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what Oliveira is going to try and do off of this 2-base setup.
Yeah, I guess time will tell what he exactly is planning on doing. For now, he's going to have to also deal with the Banshee that's making its way across the map here for GuMiho. And GuMiho, he got the Reaper in, but I don't think it was far enough to really scout it and see what was if there was still an add-on on the starport or anything. So he didn't necessarily know a whole lot of information, but he's going to get every bit of information you could ask for. Even seeing the Liberator popping on out is a perfect timing for this. 5 workers also, 6 workers, maybe a 7th or so, but I think the Liberator should eventually kill this Banshee.
I mean, in a check back in a couple hours, it'll eventually get it. It is faster than the Banshee, so it will ultimately run it down. But man, those things kill Banshees slowly. That is so good for GuMiho. He's already gone for a quick second factory. He had a very quick double gas of the natural off of this. So he's going to have lots of tank production potential and kills so many workers. This is such a good start for GuMiho on paper. He just needs to find a way to deflect the first double medevacs, and he's going to be roaring going into the mid game.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The infamous now, like yesterday's match, where the Cloak Banshee just outright killed someone. That was Oliveira versus Bjorn, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And it was
on
Oliveira
Amphion,
with the Banshee.
right?
Yeah, huh?
It was on Amphion, right?
Yeah, and it was Oliveira with the Banshee. So it's not necessarily, it's not so bad that Oliveira's just outright dead or anything like that. And obviously it was not a cloakless Banshee, but it is a little bit funny that just the next day GuMiho gets in game number 1 like a massive lead off of just the Banshee harassment.
Yeah, just a single Banshee. It's just a single cloakless Banshee. Very unfortunate.
It's just like, hey, I saw your games yesterday, and I saw that these Banshees are pretty good these days.
That's a really nice SCV spot, but Oliveira is still going to be able to move forward here. He does split and stim and split forward into these siege tanks. We'll be able to grab 2 of them, gets the Vikings as well, but the Vikings on the right side will snipe down the medevacs. Ooh, I think that was the double Cyclone drop that just got taken down. The Cyclones on the other side of the map from GuMiho going to intercept a lot of reinforcements. Very weird little setup, but so far this is going quite well for GuMiho, I think.
Yeah, I mean, 3 Cyclones inside of a mineral line, these can eviscerate workers really, really quickly, especially if the reinforcements are not exactly super power units. It's just a handful of these Marines. You can see these Cyclones are just massacring everything here.
Yeah, and that's just going to be too much. He killed everything. Good job to target fire the Marines by GuMiho. Yeah. Oh my God, that was unexpected. I think it's fair to say that
was a little bit brutal. Yeah.
Yeah.
The triple Cyclones, man. Who needs Cyclone drops when you just got triple Cyclone?
Yeah. What are these Terran players thinking? Medevacs don't shoot. I need another box with a missile launcher on it. Give me more box with missile launcher.
It reminds me of like when you first start playing StarCraft and you just, why would I make more workers?
Yeah.
Workers don't attack very well. I'm going to make a unit that attack. I'm going to make buildings that attack and stuff. Yeah, it's just, apparently that solution works quite well. Obviously a lot more complicated than that, but definitely a very, very effective timing for the 3 Cyclones to move out across the map, particularly because so many units did die in just like that push out, basically. So there wasn't a whole lot back at home anyways, but just, yeah, the timing of that Cyclone push in was so brutal. Cyclones really do just eviscerate a mineral line if left unattended for a little bit.
Yeah, they certainly do. And that's exactly what we saw there. And the fact that it was still a pretty not easy hold, but it was a straightforward hold for GuMiho. Like, he lost some tanks, he lost some Vikings, but Oliveira was already heavily committed with that push. You can see right there, ooh, he's trying to channel his inner normal man, but he has not experienced any success today just yet. Still hasn't managed to put a map win on the board for the day, whereas GuMiho riding a ton of momentum coming into this series and no sign of slowing down.
It's like, I'm trying to channel my inner normal man, but I'm still a world champion. I can't stop it. My normal man won't come out. Yeah. Well, we'll see if he can.
That would be the equivalent of like he's the Hulk and he's trying to get Bruce Banner to come out, and he's like, Bruce.
I mean, you know, there are some times you do just want Bruce Banner.
I would say most times, yeah, you want Bruce Banner. Obviously, you know, Avengers level threat. Sure, we bring out the Hulk, but date night, casual conversation, lots of things you would prefer to have a normal-sized human being in the form of Mark Ruffalo. Spawning down in the bottom right for Weibo Gaming, it is Oliveira.
And on the other side of the map, we have our blue Terran player from Cloud9. He is GuMiho. Gumi bro.
The Gumi God. The Gumi bro.
Gumi God. It depends on your mood. If GuMiho is ascending into the heavens with his godlike play and just breaking your mind with his strategic decisions, like maybe this one. This is not that crazy, but this is a fun one. Then yeah, he's Gumi God. But when he's chilling, he's Gumi bro.
Sometimes Gumi yo.
Gumi yo. Yeah.
Gumi yo.
That's when he goes to the beach, the boardwalk, and it's just like, yo.
Yeah. And when he's feeling a little cranky, he's Gumi no.
Gumi no.
And when he's feeling pretty average, he's Gumi Joe.
Yeah. Gumi Joe. That's actually a really good one. I was thinking of something a lot more out there. It's just like, and when he's going really fast in a car, he's Gumi Go. Just,
oh, that's good. All right, let's focus up and let's watch the Gumi show.
I like it. So GuMiho is going to be going for the low ground barracks. As soon as that SCV comes in here for Oliveira, it sees one gas geyser and sees the SCVs mining the second gas geyser. So you can tell, okay, it's a 2 gas opening. and your barracks, the second, or like your factories coming down back at home, but somewhere on the map is your second barrack or your first barracks. I don't know if it's proxied near me. I don't know if it's in your natural. I don't know if it's somewhere hidden in your main base. Oliveira says, I'm not going to bother looking very much. I'm actually just going to head home. I'm just going to prepare.
Yeah, he's building a bunker. He doesn't know, but he gets the jump on his opponent's Reaper. That's really nice for Oliveira. Now he can instantly cancel the bunker. Okay, GuMiho. Well, he was trying to play, you know, the very funky, different, sneaky move. But unfortunately for him, it does backfire a little bit as he loses that first Reaper. He will try and chase down the second one. Well, he will try and chase down with the second one. But Oliveira has enough distance. He should be able to get away from this as long as he doesn't take a bad angle. And with the regeneration kicking in, yeah, he's going to be able to escape on out. White, yeah, I was going to say he might eat the shot, which would stop the regeneration. But does make it worthwhile to keep chasing it for that potential. But it's fine for Oliveira. He's still going to save the unit, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Oliveira also identifying now what he's up against. Did end up getting rid of that bunker, ended up canceling it, didn't or realize that he didn't actually end up needing it after just seeing the single Reaper there. And we'll be able to transition this out into a more normal sort of situation game. It's not going to be freaking out too much. Nice little cute opening there for GuMiho just to open up the series with a little bit of mind game shenaniganry.
Yeah, and it could very easily have turned the other way where, you know, Oliveira's Reaper's in a weird position and GuMiho gets the jump on it. And then it's 2 Reapers versus 1 and you have a very uncomfortable situation. And then yet the bunker has to complete. So those minerals are tied up. Things just get really uncomfortable and ugly from there. As it stands, Oliveira will pick off that Reaper, but it is a pretty much full scout for GuMiho. He sees exactly what the add-on situation is, which is quite important in TVT. Sees that it's no super fast starport on the reactor, sees that it is Tech Lab, and it should be standard Raven. We do see a very fast 4th gas out of Oliveira. Is this going to transition into a very quick push? Maybe with a fast 2nd starport?
That'll be interesting to see. I mean, with the medevac coming on out, GuMiho is going to be well situated to put on a little bit of pressure himself if he wants to move across the map with some of those cyclones or something. So he may also have an opportunity to potentially get a bit of a vision on that 2nd starport as it does plop on down.
Yeah, and this is a strong play, but this is a little bit scary already for Oliveira. Not to say that it's a bad strategy. It's a great strategy. It can work very well, but already down 1-0 in the series, you're putting a lot of hopes on this. Now, we do see the Reaper gets into the main base, does get a scout on the fact that it's bio, which is actually not a given with GuMiho today. So that's good information.
Did he see the 3rd CC? No, right?
I don't think he saw the 3rd CC, but he should be able to tell based on the timing what's up. Nice medevac micro right here. Good cyclone micro as well. Okay, one of the cyclones goes down, but GuMiho gets out with a medevac. Still, look at his army supply right now. GuMiho is in... This is scary. I'm talking about how it's a little bit scary for Oliveira strategically, but that's only if he goes down 2-0. This is a really scary and strong-looking push. GuMiho needs to buy time for himself desperately in order to finish up that stim and get out enough units to try and hold this.
Yeah, being able to keep both of the cyclones alive and healthy would have been extremely helpful in just slowing down this push out. You can maybe pick away at the Ravens, get the Marines to chase your cyclones a little bit in the wrong direction. But now this is a very, very precarious situation because Oliveira has very little chill right now. He's just, the most chill he's had is that he sieged up 1 siege tank a little bit outside of the range of anything, but now he's going to get in range of that bunker. He's getting ready to move on forward. He's got the Liberator available to also push back the siege tank and force the unsiege over there. Is he going to go for the interference matrices on these siege tanks and try to push in?
Oh, he's going to do exactly that. Yeah, he switches off both tanks. We are going to see stim completing, but that's some huge tank shots coming in from Oliveira, and GuMiho says, I can't do anything about this. GG is called. Great job from Oliveira. He just gets right in there, and decisive as all hell, evens the series out at 1 apiece.
Yeah, super duper well done. Really well executed. A great response there from Oliveira to just jump on that opportunity. I mean, you were saying going for the second starport and just that whole follow up and everything that he was going for was going to be a little bit more committed. GuMiho just simply did not have enough. And I really do wonder, because you made a really good point about just GuMiho had to buy time for himself. If the Cyclones had been able to stay alive, if that medevac and everything was healthy, do you think that would have been able to buy enough time for himself? Or is that like he needs even more time than he would have been able to buy with those units?
Well, he definitely needed time for stim, which he did get, but the tanks were already in a really good position. Yeah. Maybe it's just a matter of having the tanks further forward so that he could have forced siege ups earlier on. The thing is, it's really tricky against those Ravens, right? Because as soon as they fire out the interference matrices, you need to be unsieging the tanks. Otherwise, you get stuck in that siege mode, and that's a free pickoff. Usually. It definitely in the position that GuMiho was kind of stuck in against his own command center. But usually that's going to be the case. Maybe if he could have bought enough time for stim, keeps his tanks alive, he might have been able to lift the command center, pull the SCVs, get a big arc, maybe clean it up. But Oliveira executed that to perfection.
And that is going to earn himself that second map victory. And you know what that means, Dave? That means that we are guaranteed not to have a reverse sweep.
Yes, that's true.
We may still have a game 5, but we're not going to have a reverse sweep because these players are bringing their all in the first beginning games of this series. They're not just faltering immediately. That makes me happy. I can't deal with the heartbreak of another reverse sweep right now.
Oh, it would be devastating. It would be so sad. But we got to mention Oliveira. This is his first map win of the day. It's a little bit of momentum for him. Can he build on this? I think he certainly can. And we're going to see if he can keep it up. Spawning up at the top left for Weibo Gaming, it is Oliveira.
And down here in the bottom right-hand side of the map, we have our blue Terran player from Cloud9. He is GuMiho. Dave, I want to credit the admins on picking the colors for all the players because we've consistently had, say, like Cloud9, which has the blue logo, or Team Liquid in the blue. We've had all the red, like Mouse Sports for Hero Marine was in the red. Oliveira for Weibo Gaming is like in the red. It's just they've been color coordinating the teams, and I just really appreciate it.
Yeah. It's quite nice. There's a member of my community, Old Man Toast, who is always quite perturbed when Team Liquid does not show up in the blue, because it is. I mean, they're blue, but it's true across all of the teams. So yeah, I got to tip my cap as well, and it's nice that it's worked out, because we do have some teams that are blue versus blue, and that's going to happen, or red versus red. But for now, we've gotten fortunate. Interestingly, we did see both players opening up gas first, and it is going to be a 1-Rax expand out of both of them. And if you're going to do it on a map, Site Delta is a pretty decent one to do it. Ramp at the natural. You've got the relatively tight jump-in point for the Reaper to go up. I like this out of both players.
Yeah, always nice to see those ramps at the natural expansion, because I think there was a map pool where we had it felt like on so many maps, and now I feel like there's a lot more maps that you don't actually have that on as necessarily a given. But it's a delight to see, as someone who doesn't play Terran, all the Terran players dealing with like the opposing siege tank push like locations and things that you could go. Get the ramp a little bit, man. It looks hellish to play Terran versus Terran sometimes.
It is a matchup that I think a lot of people, a lot of Terrans in particular, are not the biggest fan of. So far, I think they're doing mirrored builds, by the way. They both start the reactor at the same time. They both start the starport at the same time. Neither one of them going straight Cyclone. They do add on that Hellion. Now, did either of them get an extra Marine or subtract a Marine? Oh, nice little ambush here by Ollie, and he will get the kill. Yeah, so there we go. Yeah. They did do exactly the same opener, but denying that scout, getting the kill on the Reaper, that's quite nice. And finally, we are going to see a little bit of a deviation. It's a tech lab on the starport versus a medevac coming in for GuMiho.
Yeah, and GuMiho, was it last game? GuMiho went for medevac as well? I'm trying to remember. I know game number one.
No, he didn't in game two. It was game one. Game one he did.
Yeah, game one he went for the Banshee, right? He went for 3 Cyclone in game one, and then went into the Banshee with no medevac. You know what? It's okay.
Yeah, I know you're right.
That
was game
history.
One.
This is now.
That was game one.
This is the present. The point is now we do have a medevac.
Yeah, you're right. No, it was three Cyclone, no medevac in game one.
Yeah.
And yeah. Good call. It's a little early where we are even now. We are going to be seeing a nice pushback coming in from Ollie. Think he lost 1 SCV, but kills the Marine, gets this shoved away, and it's once again 4 gases very quickly coming in from Oliveira. And it is that quick second starport. It went really well for him in game number 2. He executed that build to perfection. Now, GuMiho is going for his own 3rd and 4th gas rather quickly, but this looks more like the very quick second factory that he was going for. And if it ends up being that, I feel like the double starport play is really, really good against a quick second factory.
Yeah, I think that could end up being really, really effective. We'll have to wait and see how it ends up going in execution. As for now, Oliveira is going to be chilling back and getting up his units off of that second starport. And is GuMiho going to catch wind of any of this? I'm really curious if after that last game, he has any kind of like changes that he wants to go through. He's making 2 Vikings at a time right now, and he does get the scan off on both starports.
And that's immediately a second starport coming in from GuMiho. Great decision. It is very difficult to contest the double starport without a second starport of your own. So I like this very, very much. GuMiho, of course, did have the gas for it. He actually got scanned. He waited until he could figure it out. And getting that extra bit of information is really important. What's the Viking count out right now? I do know GuMiho was into Viking production faster, so he does have 4 to 3. So it will be a little while before Oliveira's extra production kicks in and actually equalizes things, by which point GuMiho's going to be able to pump 3 at a time.
Ooh.
Liberator. Yeah, Liberator and the Natural finding a little bit of additional damage. Pairing with this very nicely. Good job from GuMiho. And now this is an Oliveira that really has to commit to this attack. He was already quite committed on it. He does have a 3rd CC on the way, but GuMiho's 3rd command center is already far, far done. This could actually turn into a very weird situation, similar to the Hero Marine versus GuMiho game on Ghost River, potentially.
Yeah. That would be pretty wild if we end up getting into that situation.
That's a huge snipe on that Viking. That alone is going to be enough to shove him back.
It is really, really crazy how much just like having a couple of units, like 1 or 2 units up on your opponent, just the way that works, it means that you don't win the fight by like 1 Viking. It means you win the fight by like a handful of Vikings. But Oliveira getting some better trades on that. I think he gets 3 for 2 or something along those lines. But
and these Vikings
definitely is outnumbering his opponent.
These Vikings are zoned out now. These Vikings are kind of trapped for GuMiho. Oh, Oliveira should absolutely keep chasing. He's okay. Well, I mean, if he can set up a really
look
good
on the other side of the map, there is something else going on also.
Yeah, no, he could have chased those down, and I think gotten all the kills, but instead he wants to set up a really nice position on this location. Those tanks, okay, one of them is in range. I was going to say, that would be really unfortunate if he wasted the interference matrix, didn't get the kill. Because the Vikings are zoned out, he is going to be able to use this Liberator. That is a wise move. There's a lot of tanks defensively, but 2 interference matrices coming on in.
And the Vikings are back over here, and they are able to snipe off the Liberator before 1 or 2 of them end up falling, but all of these siege tanks on the front line for GuMiho are starting to fall, and Oliveira looks like he may be able to push himself. Can he get a siege tank up to the high ground and actually in range of the command center? That is the question.
He would love to, but it is going to be tough. GuMiho was just a little bit late to have the scan available in order to be able to clean up that one siege tank. The Raven coming back in here. It is super low on HP. What happened to the Vikings on the other side of the map? They were harassing at the 3rd base. Okay, they did manage to fly back home, and I think that's now enough for GuMiho to clean this up. It's going to be close. There is low HP on a lot of those Vikings for GuMiho, but it looks like... Oh, no, the reinforcements of Oliveira. Okay, what's the Viking count? We got to check out the Viking count on the front as well. So it's 11 versus 11, which means defender's advantage will be better for GuMiho. Oliveira, he has done enough damage, and he has a really strong contain. If he can just keep his opponent off of a 3rd base for a long time, this is so good for Oliveira. But I think he's realized he's probably going to get about as much as he can with the actual aggressive position. He just turns this into a contain.
Yeah. Situating himself perfectly so that the range is that the place his opponent's units will engage versus his tanks is at the choke point. As opposed to just literally living inside the choke point, your opponent can get a concave at the top of the ramp. So that is going to be very annoying. And it also means that no longer is Oliveira really relying on having that air advantage, or that air vision in order to see the high ground and attack back. Now, any units that just come down the ramp are immediately going to get shelled because you don't need the high ground vision anymore.
Yes, we are going to see GuMiho. I don't know how many Vikings he just killed of his opponent. He definitely killed 1 or 2 before the land could go through. But he has now taken air superiority, and that is going to be enough for these Liberator, well, single Liberator, to be able to secure this position. Stim has completed, as we can see now, for Oliveira, and he's actually close to 1-1. Very important, I think, for Oliveira that he adds on the combat shields, as he is going up against a very tank-heavy composition. But this is still a really strong position for Oliveira in this game.
No, I mean, it's Oliveira's kind of situation to lose just because of how strong this contain has been. You can see how desperately GuMiho wants gas income right now. The lift up on the Vikings. Not a fan of that one.
No. Now I think maybe GuMiho can just break this. I think Oliveira should try and get a few more bio units here. Oh, okay. He lands more of the Vikings. The thing is, GuMiho is completely committed to air. And actually, look at GuMiho's macro. He's starting to float a lot of money right now. He built a 4th CC. He needs gas, but he is going to potentially just lose this command center. Yes, he will. Ugh.
That hurts. That
it
really
sure
hurts.
Does. Finally, Liberators.
Yeah, and you don't even need to defend the siege tanks, right? You just need to make sure that your opponent can't push across the map and win.
Yes, which, I mean, the army supply does favor GuMiho. The thing is, it's 1-1 stimmed bio, right? And there's not that many siege tanks. Oliveira needs to chill out a little bit. This is so funny to see, because if you just looked at the supply, you'd be like, GuMiho is winning this game. But the fact, oh my God, he built 2 more command centers, GuMiho did. The fact that Oliveira is mining off of 4, soon to be 5 bases, and has upgrades, has a good transition into bio ready to go, and his opponent is kind of on a lot of Vikings. Now, these Vikings, they could find some value.
I was gonna kind of ask, is GuMiho just falling further behind the longer he waits, though? Does he have a timer on him right now to get something done?
Yes, I think he definitely does.
That's why I think I feel like he needs to be less chill. Not more chill right now.
Oh, no, GuMiho has to do something. No, Oliveira needs to chill.
Oh, yes. Full agreement there. He's definitely... Oliveira's got the base counts. He's got all the long-term stuff like you were talking about. All those upgrades coming on forward. The GuMiho, he's kind of just like moving around with his Vikings. He's establishing a third base. I don't know if he realizes he's setting himself up for basically 3 base versus 5.
Yeah, and he's also building more Vikings. We are going to see Oliveira going for this landed Vikings. Well, with the Liberators, with tanks at the top of the high ground. That is so many Liberators, actually. Oh my. Okay, this is why I felt like Oliveira needed to chill a little bit. This was... GuMiho should not have been allowed to get such a good fight, but that went so well for him.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I'm trying to think if Oliveira doesn't realize how ahead he is, but he should know. Like, he knows what the base count is for GuMiho. He knows that he himself is on 5 bases, and he knows that he's seen the army so many times. So I'm so interested to see what Oliveira's backup plan is now, because GuMiho is finally pushed out across the map, and this is the big scary moment.
Yeah, Oliveira threw away a ton of supply. He is going to try and go for the fight. He will get a great wraparound on it. Able to find a lot of these siege tanks. It's so funny because, like, even now the supplies are still good for GuMiho, but it's all in Vikings against now 2-2 bio. It's an issue of scaling for GuMiho more than anything. He's finally adding on additional factories. Does he have a planetary at the 4th base? Okay, he's building one now.
Morphing in. Yeah, he's also adding on his own factories and stuff. He's adding on additional command centers. One thing I do have to credit GuMiho for in this situation is that while he doesn't necessarily have the most amazing economy right this second, I do think that he has been able to build up at least his 4 base count, and he is getting up additional command centers behind it as well. He's adding on additional production facilities besides just more starports. So I think eventually GuMiho will get into a well-rounded composition. I guess the bigger problem is going to just be, like you were talking about before, Dave, his opponent Oliveira has 2 weapon upgrades on his bio forces, and there's not a single mech upgrade. Finally, the armory is going to finish up now.
Yeah, this is such a wild game. I almost feel like I would have had to have my caster license revoked, you know, if this hadn't started to go the way that it started to go, where we finally see a supply lead. We are going to see Oliveira coming in from multiple angles. Is there enough siege tanks to hold? The answer is going to be a resounding no on the right side. There might be 1 or 2 on the left, but these Marines just chew through everything. And Oliveira's like, what was that? GG, well played. God, that was weird.
Yeah, I mean, it is very, very telling how weird that game ended up being, based on the fact that the winner immediately just winces his eyes and shakes his head like no, because there was a sort of strange situation to get himself into. But I mean, well done by Oliveira. He's going to claim the lead in the series and bring himself to match point first against his opponent. It was just strange to see how long GuMiho was able to hang in there on just that pure Viking count, when Oliveira was unable to, I guess, like, get himself to just chill, like you were saying. Like, he really felt like constantly he had to do something. And I guess when I think about who it is, that is what Oliveira is known for doing. He's not necessarily known for doing it like to the point where he starts losing necessarily, but he is very good at just continuing to pressure and continuously finding little bits of damage.
Yeah, exactly. He's a very small gains player, where he is like, okay, I'm good with fighting constantly in the game and trying to out micro you at many instances, or at all instances. Very similar to a Clem, very similar to a Rainer, a player that loves to fight often and with their speed. But it is really funny that for as long as we saw, GuMiho was like just massively ahead in supply at times, like maybe not massively, but like up to like 20-25 supply ahead. And we're like, Oliveira's winning this game. And like, I almost felt like I was convincing myself at certain points, until we finally saw, you know, things go the way that they went.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% with you on that. And I'm so curious to see how this next game is going to end up going, just because this is now going to be sort of a do or die moment, as we've had many a time today. But this time for GuMiho. And the whether or not he can actually pull this series back. He did manage to win one game, and I think he has looked overall like decent in a lot of these games so far. So it's by no stretch of the imagination has this just been like a one-sided series, and GuMiho has no reason for confidence right now. Like, this has been a close series for the most part. It's just, can GuMiho pull this back? Oliveira seems to be getting a slightly better handle on kind of what GuMiho has been up to.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. It's interesting that the 2 wins have come off the back of the double starport, even though it took a lot longer in game 3. But here we go for game number 4 on Ghost River. It is Weibo Gaming's Oliveira.
And up here in the top left, we have our blue Terran player from Cloud9. He is GuMiho. I love when we get to see pro players talking to themselves while they're playing. Saw like a little bit of that from GuMiho.
I'm a big fan of Rap God Rainer.
Rap God Rainer.
Yeah, when he you see him and he's really feeling himself. And you zoom in on the camera and he's very clearly like, you know, bopping along to whatever song he's listening to. Jamming. And he just looks like, yeah.
And then he finally releases this playlist and everyone's like, oh my God, this sounds terrible. I think that was my favorite.
Faster than Nightcore.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite thing that came about from Rap God Rainer was everyone getting so hyped across multiple months of tournaments where Rainer is just bopping along. Everyone gets so amped about how well Rainer plays when this music is jamming out. It becomes like a thing that he just plays better when you see him jamming out. And everyone's asking him for the song, the playlist. And then he finally posts the playlist. And the unanimous response from people is just like, oh, this doesn't sound very good.
That's pretty funny.
This is not that good of a playlist.
Oh,
like, I didn't say it was good. I said it got me amped.
I mean, that's ultimately like what the goal is. You're not necessarily looking to impress anyone with your playlist. You're looking to jam out.
Yeah, man. Sometimes you just gotta get in your zone. You know, I think I used to know a player who, not like a pro player, it was like a casual player back in the collegiate days and stuff of playing StarCraft. There was a player I knew who would basically, they had like a different song playlist for each matchup.
Oh.
And they would time, because you could use the timers, but like in their head, the music would play at a certain point in their build orders. So that would be like an internal way that helped them keep track of like, oh, I'm ahead or I'm behind on where I should be normally at.
Yes.
I always thought that was really cool.
That is really interesting. That's really, really interesting, actually. Huh.
Yeah.
That's like that's very clever, actually. I
always thought it was really clever. Yeah.
Yeah. That's super
Pro
super
players
clever.
don't do that, man. Pro player, freaking Neeb used to be out there listening to like, no, I don't. I turn off the StarCraft II audio. I also turn off all of like everything except for just I turn off unit responses too. I just have the game sounds. I'm like, oh my God, you're a sociopath.
Interesting little engagement right here. It was 2 Reapers, 1 Hellion versus 2 Reaper, 1 Hellion. But Oliveira is able to pop out those extra couple units. And GuMiho obviously knows he's going to have at least one of his units getting run down. So he ends up splitting them in a very fancy little way. But it will be Oliveira with a nice little bit of map control right here. It was a very fast tank from Gumi. So it doesn't get built super fast. So he's forced to pull away from the natural. But good defense from Gumi.
Yeah, good defense. Ends up losing a couple of Marines over there, but sort of just the cost of losing out on that early little war. The Reaper's going to make their way in, scouts out the lack of tech lab or anything else on that starport, sees the medevac as well with the Cyclones, and is going to have a very good read on exactly what he has to deal with.
Yeah, and this does feel like it's going to be a bit of an aggressive push coming in from Gumi. Oliveira was on no reactor for his starport, but he has switched it on now as he's realizing, yeah, with that super fast tank, you're probably going to be getting aggressive. And I mean, there's just going to be more Viking production. But in the meanwhile, we are going to see the little drop versus the little drop coming in. Both players microing really, really well here. Good hot pickup from Oliveira to save almost all of his units. And as long as he can get the full unload, I think he should be able to keep that medevac alive by just zoning with the Cyclone. Ooh, but he's not going to do so. He's actually going to get jumped a little bit.
Yeah, that is a very, very nice little pick off there. Not often that you get to see the siege tank first before, you know, a whole lot of other units, but it's definitely paying off quite well as GuMiho getting up that fast siege tank is able to make some fine use of it.
And it is 3 games now in a row where Oliveira is going for this fast second starport. This just seems to be a comfort play for him against GuMiho. And it seems really good against weirdness out of GuMiho. It feels like this is a great strategic option because it is keeping GuMiho kind of penned in, kind of forced to follow a specific setup. Otherwise, he's just going to get overwhelmed by this very powerful push out. I like this actually a lot from Oliveira against GuMiho specifically.
Yeah. Interested to see how he's going to be able to handle this now as he's kind of poaching around. GuMiho is trying to find the angle. Oh, loses the medevac, loses the Vikings, and goodbye any, air superiority is like the light way of saying it. Goodbye any air units that exist at all. He has no way to move up that ramp safely right now.
No, he doesn't. And this is actually so scary right now for GuMiho in this series. He is going to set up his tanks in a way to try and buy as much time as possible. Ooh, are we going to see just a bypassing of the main army? Cute little SCV actually will spot this medevac, but these siege tanks may be able to siege up. No, he's going to go right into the natural. That is so bold. Is he going to land the Vikings here to reinforce this? Yes, he will.
He's going to be able to find at least a couple of these siege tanks. Isn't able to find a whole lot of SCVs. Finds 4. Softens up some of the Marines. Not maybe as much damage as he was hoping for, especially since he loses, I think, an extra Viking or 2 there. But it's a little bit of something. He definitely scares GuMiho, if nothing else.
Yeah, but I don't know if committing after the SCV saw that was the right call.
Yeah.
If he sneaks into the natural and those tanks siege up and the Vikings can, you know, land, they can spread out, they can do what they want, that's really, really good for Oliveira. As it is, this is so scary for GuMiho even still, and GuMiho is trying to get up into a Thor. Nice siege up from Oliveira, gets the 1 tank, and this 3rd command center is in so much trouble. We got triple Liberator coming in at once. There is not a whole lot to guard against the landed Vikings. I love that Oliveira goes for it here.
Yeah, gonna be able to snipe off so many of these siege tanks. Another siege tank so low on hit points. The Hellion may actually be able to run it down. It does end up falling. No siege tank support needed, says Oliveira as he pushes into the natural, forces the SCV pull. Thor is here and it is able to push away the medevac for a moment. Liberator's also here, but Oliveira just looks like he has overwhelming numbers. 42 army supply to 12.
Yeah, this is just way too much firepower. That mass repair on the Thor, it can stay alive for a long time and it puts out a lot of DPS. Actually, the missile turret hitting this Liberator pretty hard. But the landed Vikings, the siege tanks, it's too much. We see the throwing in, the literal throwing in of the towel. And Oliveira gets 3 in a row and will take the series. GG.
Amazingly well done there by Oliveira. Look, super solid. You were talking about this, Dave, just continuing to find the value in just air superiority. It seemed to be the name of the game for him, and he did a great job of it, identifying the way that GuMiho was playing, small little things that GuMiho was doing each one of those games, and still just managing to make the most of it.
Oh, no kidding. That was just phenomenally done by Oliveira. He saw from the previous series versus Hero Marine that GuMiho was playing really weird. A lot of mech openings, going for some heavy starport play himself, and Oliveira just says, you know what? I'm confident in my execution. I can boil these games down a little bit by going for the double starport. And this is interesting because usually think of like maybe like a 2-Rax Reaper play or something to try and force the game down a certain path. But I feel like that two starport play does a really good job of forcing it down a specific path.
It really, really does. And I'm so interested to hear more of his thoughts on it in a little bit, but I do want to take a look at the bracket as we do see over here. This is the bracket for Group A, the match that we just saw. Oliveira versus GuMiho concluding means that Oliveira moves on to the lower bracket semifinals, going to face off versus the winner of Estrella and Beyond, which apparently, according to this graphic, is currently sitting at 1-1, which I'm very hopeful for my boy Estrella. I love Beyond, but my American boy Estrella, I believe in. I want to see some great results from him, and that'd be a very, very fun series to see as well.
Yeah, that would be really freaking cool. On the other side, of course, we did cover that amazing Cure versus Classic matchup that was simultaneously awesome to watch and gut-wrenching to witness, because that was a Classic that was so locked in for those first two games. And even game 3 on Alcyone, he was so good at staying alive. Game 4 on Oceanborn, same thing, where he was in these impossible positions and he fought his way back into a winnable or at least playable position. But yeah, it didn't work out for him. However, here we have this series. This may be the one move for Oliveira since game 1 that didn't work out for him super well, where he attacked up the ramp into a bunch of Siege Liberators and things didn't go according to plan. But even now, down in supply, down in SCVs, the supply was actually lying super hard because he actually was just crushing it in the upgrades, in the infrastructure, in the base count. And this was finally the fight that broke things open. And then this just decisive push at the end in game number 4. Yeah, Oliveira was really cooking in this series.
He really was. And I think you did a great job talking about it during the series of just kind of that build order choice and the way he was able to put on that aggression consistently. We saw the literal throwing in of the towel from GuMiho as well, which is amazingly hilarious to see.